Welcome back to Routine Rundown, the show where we discuss the beauty industry and our routines beyond what meets the eye. I'm your host, Zoe Weiner, Senior Beauty Editor at Well+Good, and today we're speaking with the founder of the inclusive and empowering brand Tude Beauty, Sharareh Siadat. Sharareh and I talk about her personal journey of reclaiming her beauty narrative as an Iranian girl who's bullied for her features. We also get into how Tude Beauty was born out of her desire to create a brand that spoke to all people, regardless of their race, ethnicity, gender, or background, and what goes into creating an experience that rings true for everyone while also standing out in the marketplace. Before we dive in, don't forget to please leave us a review, share this episode with a friend, and subscribe to our newsletter, which is linked in the show notes. That way we can keep the conversation going. Now, let's get into it. Welcome to Routine Rundown. I'm here with Sharareh Siadat, founder of Tude Beauty, one of my favorite people on the planet. The first time we met, she was covering me in glitter from my eyebrows to my cheeks to my boobs. So we go way back, and I'm really excited to have you on, Sharareh.
Oh my God, what an intro from my face to my neck to my boobs. I like that byline.
You were like, we can show it everywhere. And I was like, okay, we'll put it everywhere. And by the end of our hour together, I was a glitter bomb in the best possible way.
Legit, you are her muse.
So, Sharareh, you are the founder of Tude Beauty, which is arguably one of the most fun makeup brands on the market. Tell me a little bit about the brand and how it came to be.
For sure. And I also want to make an announcement here, first time really acknowledging in the press. Part of me reclaiming myself, Tude is short for attitude, in case your listeners don't know. And it had to do with being an Iranian girl in this country and never having a beauty narrative that spoke to me, and really getting bullied a lot about my ethnic features, particularly my unibrow. And when I had erased it all these years and grew it back, that's when I understood that I needed to rewild, reclaim, and rewrite my beauty narrative using myself as my muse. So we're kind of creating at the highest level, really bringing color to the clean world, and these at the highest level of, cleanliness when it comes to formula and the packaging. And I bring this up because part of me and my journey of reclamation, from growing my unibrow in to you watching my silver strands go through my armpit hair, is also reclaiming my birth name. And that's part of the beauty journey that we never talk about, is we talk about internal beauty, but also how do we feel about ourselves? And so I just wanted to say, I'm really going by Sharareh now. That's my birth name. Sherry was always a shortcut or a nickname for Sherry, for people that I needed to make feel comfortable. But I just realized something. I'm going to take up space, and I'm going to have people call me by my birth name, Sharareh. It's not that hard. And if we can all say Willem Dafoe and any other white male name that's impossible to pronounce, we can all say Sharareh.
Sharareh, I love it.
Spark of fire.
What does it mean?
A single spark of fire in Farsi.
Wow, that feels very fitting for you and for everything you're all about. Sharareh, I love it.
Yeah. So anyway, now I'll answer your question, which you should probably ask again.
Sharareh, tell me a little bit about Tude Beauty and how it came to be.
Well, the great thing is I already started to answer that question for you. We launched in January of 21 with a mission, and that was, how can we no longer have to choose between clean, colorful, high-performing cosmetics, no longer needing to choose from having the media images really represent what true inclusivity and diversity mean, and no longer needing to choose a brand that no longer really had an understanding of packaging and how much we are contributing to the global waste and the climate change that's happening in the world. And so for those three pillars, from the killing it at literally the forefront of technology, we created the world's first biodegradable glitter in the whole world last year, made from eucalyptus cellulose. We're launching the cleanest black and blue mascara in 4 days, called Tude Scara, because in order to change the game, it takes Tude. In order to change the mascara game, it takes Tude. And so it's 99.3% made from completely natural ingredients, and it's the first mascara in the world to be made with ocean waste plastic. So we are really pushing the industry in a way that we just are not going to say yes to anything but the highest level of standards that we all would have wanted in a beauty brand if we ran it. So let's look at Tude as a collective of like a new world order, from removing shame from beauty conversations to the really pushing the industry to make sure our endocrine systems have the cleanest formulations, to packaging that is fully sustainable and leaving a zero of carbon footprint.
Yeah, and I feel like clean beauty, you said it a little bit, has traditionally kind of felt if you wanted to use clean beauty, you had to be a natural, no makeup. Like it was pretty limiting. And don't get me wrong, I love no makeup looks. But when that's kind of your only option, it can feel a little bit boring. So do you think, why was it important to you to do something that feels really totally different than that?
I also feel like it was important to me because there was a higher calling. And part of the higher calling in terms of helping people feel free within themselves, feel free to self-express and show up as they were born. A kind of byproduct of that was us creating Tude, because in order for us to get there, we really wanted to create a safe space with these products. And it was important to take us there because it's not being done. I was always waiting for someone to come up with a clean line that had color. It was kind of surprising to me that we had also created a binary world with clean beauty, where clean beauty meant very kind of basic muted palettes, more in the bronzy family, and then a no makeup. Well, that's putting clean beauty in a corner that doesn't belong. Clean beauty should be the standard. Everything should be clean. Why are we actively putting our dollars that we work so hard for and save into buying things that are messing up our health? That made no sense to me. But we were ingrained into that because things are cheaper when we're putting toxicity into our systems. It costs more money to do it the right way. I am really trying to hit that balance of making clean beauty affordable for all.
I think we started to see it change, obviously, with Tude and with a few other brands. But I think something else that's been missing is really this moment of self expression, where a lot of clean makeup on the market has been about maybe enhancing your skin, maybe covering a blemish, maybe adding like a bronze eyeshadow and a slightly longer lash. But that was really it. So, where does self expression come into your journey and the development journey of Tude?
So Tude really started with me being on a journey of understanding who I am, what I was put on this earth to do, and really um, honoring the freedom to explore all that meant without judgment, and just seeing what the answer was. Not needing to architect it into a way, or kind of make it into something that is maybe society values as success. And so for me, from me being bullied as a little girl with a unibrow to then growing it back and understanding the power I had from facing something that had so much power over me and locking it up as a secret, to then saying I can actually change my perception of how I feel about it, made me understand that invitation toward radical self acceptance, that invitation for positive movement and feelings and affirmations toward myself and others, and that invitation to find frequencies such as yours, Zoe, that I have found community in saying, like, hey, we all want this. This is what drove to be born.
Yeah. And I mean, you and I bonded over our unibrows and being bullied about them as kids. I definitely was there too. I have not gotten to the place where I'm ready to stop waxing mine. I'm like, someday I hope I can get there. And I feel like what a lot of what you're saying is like self expression, I think also has to come from some level of self acceptance. Like, I'm cool with myself, and now I want to make myself louder, make myself more colorful, take up space, as you said. How did you get to that point where, like, you had accepted who you are and now you want to highlight and show it off and glitterify it really for the world?
I think that journey is still one that I'm on. I want to just say that for the record, full stop. Um, to get to the point that I am now, motherhood played a very significant role for me. It may not be for everyone, but I'll just tell you my journey. I really hated who I was and how I looked, and I did everything I could to conform to Eurocentric forms of beauty, from waxing, lasering, tweezing, highlighting, crazy diets. And I ended up allowing that need for whiteness, that need for Eurocentricity to really control aspects of me, to marry a wasp and bang out some kids that really looked very different than me. And my youngest daughter came out as my spinning replica. And so that was the portal door that opened up for me that said, whoa, there is a life force who is a mirror of you, who is so effervescent, so dope, so fly, so connected to self. And isn't that like the most beautiful thing when someone just like embodies who they are and are connected to their self energy? There is nothing more attractive than that. And that little girl, that my baby girl, sparked this consciousness in me to say, hey, wait a second, I don't view myself that way. I am Sherry with two eyebrows and not Sharareh with a unibrow. So I needed that transformation to Sharareh with a unibrow. And so I decided to grow my unibrow back at 37 years old, and face to face I hadn't seen for 24 years. And that was actually the beginning. That wasn't the destination of me starting to accept myself. That was actually the door I opened. So it was a lot of layers. So it's not just like a complex thing. It's like looking at the energy around you, looking at your internal self, looking at your shadow work, looking at what are your biggest fears, and then facing them. Because when you strip everything that controls you to then say, no matter what, I love me. No matter what, I won't leave me. If you have abandonment issues, you just give yourself that. And that over time, and the embodiment and living and like facing tough energetic situations where people put you in a corner and then saying, no matter what, I'm still going to be me. No matter what, I'm not going to let their energy change who I am, is what makes me feel the most powerful.
I feel like so many women try and shape themselves, change themselves, and don't. And that's kind of the barrier to self acceptance. But do you feel like representation is getting better? Do you feel like we are making strides and kind of seeing different forms of beauty than we were maybe when you and I were kids?
1,000%. And I have been very actively stating in the media how we are living in a world of curated diversity and performance inclusivity. I actually want to make an amendment to that statement. I do believe in that still. And I think we have to first and foremost ask, like, why are we showing diversity? So we're not tokenizing diversity in the Eurocentric model. Because sometimes you may see ethnic people, but their features may have more Eurocentric city. So I'm excited to see how the vocabulary expands, Zoe. Let's put
Mm-hmm.
it that way. But yeah, for sure, definitely I see momentum. I have friends of all different ages, and I also have like, a 13, 11, and 8-year old. So what is interesting for me when I look at their generation comparative to mine is what is considered beautiful has completely changed. Like where my generation was about Eurocentric beauty, like in my kids' generation, the way I look is like desirable. So that shows tremendous progress to me, that silver hair and a unibrow and armpit hair is like something that people want and maybe actually go to a beauty parlor to achieve.
Yeah. And I feel like that is not something that I ever saw growing up. A unibrow. I remember when I first sprouted hair on my legs, getting tortured at school to the point where I shaved in secret and got in big trouble for it. So I don't know. I mean, I wish that I had women like you to look at when I was 12.
But I wanted to actually offer something because you and I didn't. So, for anyone else that doesn't have that representation, here is a message I want to say to you. You are the representation, you are the culture. I will never wait for anyone to kind of embody who I know deep inside I am. I am just going to live that. And I am not afraid to self express in that way. And by the way, when you really understand that and live that, and say, wait a second, this doesn't exist because I'm going to actually set the trend for this, girl, you are in your power at that point. And so that should be all of our collective goals, is how are we setting culture?
All I can think is like, how amazing would it be if we all just did what we wanted? Like, there were no trends. We just expressed the way we wanted, which I feel like is what Toot is all about. It's not about falling into a clean beauty trend. It's not about anything like that. It's about doing it for you.
And that's why we're not trendy. We are actually culture.
I love that. How do you define beauty? What does that word mean to you?
I saw an ad, I think it was for Hermes, and it said beauty is a gesture. And ever since I read that sentence, it really stuck with me because that is true. The je ne sais quoi, the like little something something in the twinkle of an eye. It might be the way the wind blew the back of your jacket as you were walking by a tree. There is so much beauty in the world and these nuances, and not necessarily this like crafted Barbie doll image that we were brainwashed to believe is what beauty is. As I've gotten older, my heartfelt connection to beauty has exploded and expanded, and the ways and things that I think are beautiful have completely changed and evolved. um, I think the most beautiful thing in the world is someone that belongs to themselves, and energy now is to me the most beautiful thing. And so what does that mean when you own a beauty company and you're selling makeup? Well, I hope that I can just make the cleanest things that are smashing in the industry and helping solve a lot of the issues that we have, so people can then feel really safe to then do them. And that is the most beautiful and hottest thing too, because hotness and beauty for me go side by side.
I think in the makeup world in particular, there are two, it almost feels to me like there are two very clear categories. There's one side of the industry that's here's a concealer, here's a foundation, here are things to cover up whatever we're telling you you need to cover up. Here's an eyebrow gel to tame your brows, like all of those kinds of things that are I love and I use and they make me feel good, but I wonder if they make me feel good because of a certain conditioning. And then on the other side,
Exactly.
there's glitter, bright colors, there's makeup kind of as a form of play, right? Is there, I'm like, is there a world where both can exist? Yes, obviously it does. But is there like, how can we as women kind of find the balance of feeling good, of like, I feel good covering my acne scars. I don't love looking at them in the mirror, but I also feel good painting my face with glitter.
You actually had answered your own question. So what I was
Ah.
going to say is, why do you have to choose? That is binary beauty.
Mm.
Like when we accept ourselves, the light and the dark, we accept it all. Like we are all multitudes, pun intended, to say that like you are Zoe that wants to have a glitter bomb, and you might be Zoe that wants a no makeup look, and you might be a Zoe that needs a 7-minute tutorial look, and you are all of those things. And as am I, by the way. We create our own universe first. So you create that rule for yourself. Who cares how the world thinks? And then the world's going to copy you, Zoe.
This is really just turning into a therapy session for me, which I love. I'm just learning all the new ways that I can self-accept and fall in love with beauty in different ways. And what about the experience of applying makeup? It for me at least has transformed into this like thing that I have to do, into something that's become a lot of fun. How do you use makeup application? What does that look like in your routine? Is it kind of, and how do you make it fun for yourself? I imagine it is very fun with all that
I
glitter.
think first and foremost, I don't take it too seriously. And I am like, even if I am imperfect, I'm still hot. I still belong to me. So I think it's just like giving yourself the permission to play sounds like so easy, because it seems like, yeah, we all want to play. No, a lot of people don't want to play. A lot of people want to follow rules. So remember that feeling when you're in kindergarten and your teacher presented you with a fresh set of watercolors, and you were so excited to grab that paintbrush, excuse me, dip it in the water and mix it all up. And you were the first person to touch that paint. I look at Tude that way. I have these like pigments of color that I have access to, and different, stickiness or different applications. And I'm like, how do I want to paint myself? Okay, today I just want to paint like a flower around my eye, or today I just want to smear something behind on my lip, or like on my cheek, or I'm going to do something. What is the spirit telling me to do? That's how I do my makeup. I do it very fast. I will do a red carpet makeup look in under 10 minutes, maybe 5. You could actually probably take me one time, and you just go and you just rock it.
I remember the day you came over with all the glitter and I was like, what do I do? And you were like, do what you want to do. And it was so stressful to me at first because I had no idea. And I think and I'm sure many other people have been conditioned to think, you have to do it this way. It goes like this. Here's how you do XYZ look. But you gave me the freedom to smear it everywhere. And I loved the way it looked afterwards. But we're now in this world of tutorials, social media, everybody telling you this hack, that hack, here's how to do it. Do you think that that is taking away from creativity? Do you think that's helped creativity? Where does that leave us in this world of play?
I am not someone that feels like it's all or nothing. I think there's room for all. I think not everyone has this invitation to freedom. Maybe not everyone is an artist, right? So, but I do believe we're all artists. But maybe you haven't tapped into connecting to that part of you yet. Sometimes when you see artistry in others, it could be inspirational to you. So I'm not opposed to the tutorial things. I look at that as an artist showing their artwork if you walk into an art gallery. That's how I view tutorials. Um, I think that we should live in a world where we are constantly creating community to feel safe to explore. We should live in a world where we can watch tutorials and draw inspiration, but we should not live in a world that makes us feel that if we don't copy the exact look of that tutorial, then you are X, Y, and Z. Then you are not cool, not pretty, not valid. No, that does not exist. So it's more about redefining the current world to make sense of how that works for you than changing the world in terms of the outputs.
It makes me think, do you ever read like recipe blogs and then you read the comments and it's like everyone will comment what they did differently? And it's like, I followed this, but I substituted penne for spaghetti, or I did this, but added like this much olive oil or butter and it tasted better. I feel like that's the move with beauty. Like you can use it as a jumping off point and then turn it into whatever you want.
Legit. That's a great analogy.
Yeah, I was cooking last night, clearly. Something else that I wanted to talk about is it's been very clear from the beginning that Tude is for everyone. It's not just for women, it's not just for men, it is for everyone, regardless of gender expression, regardless of who they are, how they identify. How did you get that messaging across, and why is that something that's been so, so critical to what you've created?
I really believe that Tude really welcomes all creators. And I know to be true that creator energy is not gendered. Creator energy is really non binary, because it holds both. And so when I think about all human beings being creators, we have the yin and the yang, we have the masculine and feminine within. So if I'm giving paints for people to create, why would I gender that? There's no need for this. Let's call the bullshit of the patriarchy. Let's call the bullshit of like needing to feel like there's only one way to look and certain products for only parts of the face. Let's remove all of that and let's start creating.
And so, one of our beauty trends for this year was gender inclusive beauty, which I know we talked to you about back. What year was that?
December
Back
of
in
21.
December.
Yeah.
Yes. How do you think, where are we at this point? We're now recording this in September. It's been 9 months since we had that conversation. How do you think the industry has shifted? Were we right?
You definitely were. But I think what's shocking to me still, Zoe, is in pockets of men, like, various cities, we are seeing men explore makeup, or male identified bodies explore makeup, but it's actually not as prevalent as I would have thought it would have been.
Interesting.
And but I also have noticed how the generation alpha, they from birth are putting nail polish on for kind of male identified bodies and all that stuff. So what I'm most curious about is like we are laying the foundational work now to create the stage to allow that generation as they grow up in the next 10 years, 5 to 10 years, to see how that, I think at that point, if I am putting fertilizer in the ground now, Zoe, I think it will really take off by then. And of course, sooner it's happening, but I mean, to really see adoption in the world, I think it's going to be another decade.
Yeah, I know. But I think we're seeing, I think we are seeing brands at least setting the ground for this representation now,
Definitely.
which is exciting.
1,000%. No, it's incredible. And the artistry, like it's amazing to me how everyone is so good at makeup. That was not a skill that people my age had growing up.
And do you think that the pandemic, I feel like during the pandemic, we were all like, is makeup ever going to come back? We've all been sitting at home. We realize like there's no need to wear it anymore. Has it changed things? Where are we on that note?
I have felt there's been so much energy toward makeup. It's like everyone wants to put makeup on. Everyone was tired of not having a reason to put it on. And like, so I feel like that is launched this like creative aspect in a way that may not have exploded had the pandemic not happened. Cause we're kind of like, yo, life is crazy and life can change in a second. And I want to go out and I want to celebrate and I want to pull up with a look.
It's so true.
Right? I get that energy now. It's like, yeah, I like do my two eyes up every time I walk out that home. Like really exploring myself in a way that I didn't even know I could.
And speaking of exploring yourself, because this is routine rundown, I would love to hear a little bit about your daily beauty routine.
Absolutely. I wake up very early. Like I wake up sometimes somewhere between 4 and 6 a.m. every
Oh my
day.
God.
Like early. Because I like to feel like I'm ahead of the world because my life is crazy and I need a second before mom make me pancakes. Like I start hearing that. And so that's I share that with you because beauty also starts with connection to self. So I take that time to like meditate things, think what comes to me, also like drink a lot of I drink a liter of water when I wake up. And I love you can't take coffee away from me, so I love my coffee. And then I go on a nature walk if I have that permission. So that is very much part of my beauty routine. And before I go on my nature walk, I will always spray myself with rose water. And I usually put, there's like 3 or 4 different types of face oils that I like mix and match with. And I put on like face oil to almost feel like a restorative like skincare treatment as I go walk in nature.
I love that. So is it scent that I don't know, does that give you like scents that walk with you?
Scents that walk with me. I mean, do you want to know the brands?
Yeah, kind of. If you're willing to share.
Let's go do this real time.
We're going to the
Let me
bathroom.
go into the bathroom, which is like literally right here. So we will open up this cabinet. One thing, and a lot of these are all Credo brands, by the way. There's this brand called
Supernal. Yeah.
Supernal. It's a cosmic glow oil. It smells like the most amazing fairy forest you ever like ran into. This is old school, but I am just love the Damascus rose facial treatment from Aesop. And it has a very medicinal rose smell. So but if you like rose, it's amazing. If you really like the natural rose, um, this is Ranavat. I also got this there. It's a brightening saffron serum. It reminds me of my Persian heritage, so I love the way that smells too. Um, and then this is old school Shiva Rose, but it just is so organic. She uses the highest degradation of like almost like essential oils. So I love kind of putting that on too.
I love that. Are there other ways you mentioned the saffron reminding you of your Persian heritage? Are there other ways that your Persian heritage comes into your beauty routine?
The most Persian thing about me when it relates to beauty, which is not the way I wear my makeup. The way I wear my makeup is not very Persian. But what is very Persian about me is Persian women, or particularly in my family, I was really raised to like leave the house with a full face of makeup. Like you never walk out bare face. You always like are like put together because how you look is family honor on the streets. People will talk about you if you don't look good. And that was so ingrained in me. So I took the roots of that messaging, but made it my own. I am very happy to go out without any makeup on. I am not afraid of that. So I can remove the things that don't serve me, but then also say, however, the essence there is like be proud and honor who you are and respect yourself and your body. And so that to me is really what I embody in that beauty message in my Iranian roots.
I love that. Well, Sherry, Shadidat, thank you so much for coming on. I feel like this was part therapy session, part teaching me more cool things I can do with my makeup, part telling me new products I need to try. So we hit everything. I loved this. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. And can I just give a shout out to my team really fast? It's something that I should do more often in press, but we are literally launching this next wave of innovation called like All Eyes on Tude. But it's not really All Eyes on Tude because it's just that it's like Tude 2.0, and we are launching mascara, Tudescara in 4 days. We are launching 7 color liquid liners that is going to blow away on the performance and on the color payoff in the fall, as well as hypnotic color creams that are like triple chrome. I mean, this stuff doesn't exist in clean beauty. So I hope you guys are ready. We are revolutionizing the clean beauty world, and I'm so proud of us. We're not even 2 years old yet, and we are crushing it.
Well, I'm so excited to try all of it. I feel like now I want to go play with makeup instead of doing actual work. That's work when you're a beauty editor. It's fine. It counts.
It's amazing. I appreciate you. I love you. And like, let's like link up in 5 hours down the road.
100%. On today's episode, you heard me, your host, Zoe Weiner, in conversation with Sharareh Siadat. Routine Rundown is a Well+Good Studios production. If you like what you heard, please share with a friend or two so they can join the conversation too. We also have a newsletter for you to subscribe to, which we've linked in the show notes for extra insight on all things mentioned in today's episode. And if you feel so moved, you can always drop us a line at podcast@wellandgood.com. Routine Rundown is produced by Taylor Camille, Jen Snyder, and Abby Stone, along with help from many other hands and brains at Well+Good. Our episodes are edited by Sarah Gabrielli and Maya Stone, with additional production support from Malia Agadello and Ashley George. Our theme music was created by Nick Doss, and our show art was designed by Natalie Carroll, Jenna Gibson, and Alyssa Gray. On the next episode of Routine Rundown,
I really love that I'm seeing more and more younger men in my office, from teens on up to the young 20s, who really, really want to take care of their skin. So I think it was critical, and it's really important for human race to develop or to ensure that our products really were designed for all genders.